to the Once Blind podcast. Your host, Carlos.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. As you can tell, I have another person with me here. Go ahead, Mike, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, Carlos. For those who don't know me, my name is Michael. New Jersey resident now, was a New York resident, was homeschooled from the age of second grade all the way through high school. I know that is the topic of which we will be talking about today, so mixing up things a little bit. I do want to say thank you for having me on the show. It's pretty cool to be here.
No doubt. Definitely
I know.
glad you're the first one, too.
Yes, thank you. It's cool to be the first one. I feel special.
There was a joke there, but we'll leave that alone. So I just wanted to discuss, not only with the viewers, even with you, it's, and I've said this to you before, I had a fear of homeschooling my children, and that they might be weird. And it wasn't until I met you and very few others that gave me hope that there are normal people that are products of homeschooling. So thank you. But again, what I'd like to know is, as a product, what would you say are the pluses that we as parents should look into for homeschooling?
Well, like everything else, there is pros and cons to literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the pros, though, and pluses, one of the biggest things that I know I've experienced through my homeschooling career is you are around family all the time. And it's a great opportunity to see your children grow, to instill the right ideologies and the right teachings in your children. You know better than I do the way the school system works nowadays is just absolutely messed up in so many different ways. It's just about family as well, and just really being able to watch your child grow, and even to see the end product of what you instill in your child, and to really see the end result of, hey, I did a good job.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a lot of good things that come from the family time and just the ability to raise your children the way you know is right to raise them, and that you're not leaving them in someone else's hands to do that for you. So that's definitely the biggest and I think best plus in terms of homeschooling. Other terms is you can definitely take homeschooling in a way that you see fit. I remember some of the great things being homeschooling growing up is I would wake up, eat breakfast, and me and my dad would go play baseball, for like a few hours, and then I would come back and do school.
That's awesome.
Or we would wake up and like my mom would be like, hey, let's go like to a museum or something as a field trip, and like you're able to take your child's learning and build it in just a more unique way rather than just this like so well structured, just strict like prison like environment. It's just definitely a unique way to have your children learn.
Okay.
It's definitely, that's probably one of the best ways for me to describe it.
Did you feel you missed out on anything for not going to public school, high school, whether private, whatever it may be? Did you feel like you personally were robbed or missed out from anything?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. More of the yes, it would be along the lines of socially, I guess.
Okay.
And I know that's a lot of people's concerns is the whole social aspect, and I will dive into that a little deeper. But definitely socially is one thing, but you can change that, and we'll talk about how. But socially, just the whole point of what it was like to even wake up, have to get on a bus, suffer through all that, sit in a classroom, watch all the bizarre, wild things that can happen in a classroom. You see clips on Instagram and YouTube of all the wild things that could happen in the classroom. You kind of miss out on little things like that. Not necessarily bad to miss out on those things, but you do miss out on certain aspects. So and that is one of the cons of homeschooling. But other than that, there's not much else to miss out on. I mean, really, there's really not much else. Everything else is pretty much a plus.
Now, you did do co-ops as you went through homeschooling, right?
Yes, very little.
Okay.
I personally was not a fan of the co-ops.
Okay.
I just wasn't. But yes, I was a part of a group for a few years actually. In Staten Island, there is Sitchi was the name of the group we were a part of, and I was even a part of the one in CCOB
Okay.
in Jersey and Old Bridge. So yeah, so there was that as well. And they're great. It was just a personal opinion that I just wasn't always too fond of it. But some of the field trips I went on, a lot were with that group, and it's really cool because you're with other people as well. So that also breaks the social problem that you would have in the non-public school setting.
Now, you mentioned socially you probably missed out from not going to public school. How did your parents make up for you lacking in that social structure of school?
That's a great question, and that's one of the ways to solve that issue. Is I mean, I was put in football, I was put in Boy Scouts, I was put in. I mean, with actually one of the homeschooling groups, we had a snowboarding thing that we did every year. We would get a group of people together and go snowboarding, which was one of my personal favorites, and because of that, I love snowboarding. It's one of my hobbies. Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting your kid out there. It's all about if you're gonna take them away from that social setting, put them in social things.
Okay.
Even and the younger you do it, the better.
Okay.
You know, don't wait a few years to do it. It's hey, kids at a ripe age to start talking to people and getting used to the world. Stick them in something. Stick them in anything, Boy Scouts or any kind of social program. I mean, and then I was in a fire department program growing up because I want to be a firefighter, so that helped me out a lot with all that as well. So yeah, it's all about just getting your kid out there.
Okay.
You know,
Nice. How let's see, what I was thinking more of the lines of when you talked about socially, did you miss out on having friends outside of, well, you're a single child, so it's kind of different for you than it is for my kids. But you had friends, obviously. You guys would do certain trips together outside of co-op, or was this within the co-op?
a lot of it was within co-op.
Okay.
A lot of the external things that I would do with friends that I just made through Boy Scouts.
Okay.
Which Boy Scouts was a huge thing for me.
Okay.
Because, I mean, every week you're with a certain group of kids for a few hours on end every single week. And that's not even including all the camping trips you would go on and all the excursions you would do with that group as well. So, yeah, a lot of the external things is from the friends that I made on my own. So,
Must have been fun to be a single child, but I don't know how you did it, man.
yo, I actually love being a single child. I really do. It's funny because when I was younger, I didn't want to be a single child. But as I grew older and I had friends who had siblings and I saw just like the sibling life, I was like, you know what? I like what I got. All
You
the
got to be
attention's on me.
valedictorian. You got to be class clown.
Exactly.
You got to be the prettiest in class.
That's right. I was the bully. I was the jock. I was the goth. I was everything. It was great.
Nice.
So.
Now, for your parents, what made them decide to homeschool you?
Funny story, actually. Aside from the fact that just the way the school system is run in general is just a horrible, just messed up, twisted way of going about it.
Absolutely.
But one of the main reasons was, so it's around Christmas time. My parents have always told me from the get-go that there was no such thing as Santa. I was always told that we buy you gifts. These are yours from us. Christmas is a great time, but Santa is a thing. Just something that people like to tell their kids for the sake of telling them. So being in kindergarten, I would go into the classroom in first grade, go into the classroom and tell the whole class, yo, Santa ain't real. You're all being lied to, you know? And my teacher actually looked down upon me and was like, yo, like, I believe in Santa. You're wrong, you know? So I went home and called my mom a liar because I believe my teacher over my mother. But that's a very interesting thing because the teachers have such a big influence on the children. I mean, they are with the teacher more than they are with the parents.
Yes.
For 8, sometimes more hours a day of both parents working, they have co-ops after the classes. Like, they are surrounded by external forces that they're teaching your kids. You don't even know what half the time. So one of the major pluses is what we said before, is that you get to know what you're teaching your kid. You know, you don't have anyone else's input. It's strictly you and you alone. and there's no one else to corrupt your child's mind. Weird way of putting it, but it's the best way I could think of.
No, it's definitely corruption.
Yeah.
Were your parents Christian at that time, or was this later on?
No, my parents were definitely Christian at the time. Yeah.
A lot of your curriculum. Now, see, this is the fear a lot of people who are non-Christian will say, is that we only teach creationism. Your parents taught you both sides of creationism and evolution?
Yes, the curriculum I used, or the family used, taught both. But obviously, it's a Christian-based curriculum, so creation was the main focus.
Okay.
But they said, hey, this is a thing too. Don't be in shock when you go out there and you hear evolution or Darwinism or Marxism and all these other wonderful things that were taught. Yeah.
Did you feel like your education was more sheltered towards just Christianity, or was it a broad view of everything?
It was broad.
Okay.
Because, again, just being in a lot of the social things I was in, I had a lot of different beliefs that I was told. But, like I said before, even the curriculum that we had was a solid curriculum that did expand on a lot of different things. It wasn't just solely Christianity. So I did learn Darwinism. I learned evolution. I learned all the processes with that, even in the sciences,
Nice.
all different types. And that was just the curriculum I used. Which was Bob Jones, if anyone's interested. But yeah.
Okay. I think we use My Father's World at first, and now my wife has just created a whole bunch of things put together.
That's cool.
We don't like Abeka though. So either way, now socially, a lot of the things, at least her family will say to us, is that in homeschooling you shelter a child so much. And when they get into the so-called real world, they don't know how to act. Did you feel you went from a transition of being so sheltered that when you got into experiencing more of life on your own, was it a culture shock for you and you went crazy?
It was a shock to a degree.
Okay.
It was never that abrupt where it was like the shell shock of like, oh my God, like the world is so evil. No, it was an interesting transition.
Okay.
And it happened naturally too. I definitely thank God for that one. It was definitely more of a natural transition, but it was definitely a different pace. Because when you're home, you are sheltered by a lot of things. You are not taught a lot of the things. You are hidden from a lot of the evils that are in the world. So that when the day comes that you actually finally see the world for what it is, yeah, it's definitely a shock.
Okay.
And it definitely opens up your eyes to a whole realm of other things. Some good, some bad.
Did you feel the things you were sheltered from? Because I think as parents, we should shelter our kids from a lot of things.
Yes.
We should expose things at ages where we think they're mature enough, which
Agreed.
each kid is different.
Agreed.
So in you being sheltered, quotations for those that are audible, did you feel that it was a handicap to be sheltered? Or do you think with your parents allowing you to experience things at the times that you did, that it was more beneficial that they did it that way?
Every situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
So yes and no. There's no real straight answer for that question because in certain things, yes, it was better that I was refrained in certain areas. And in other areas, no, it wasn't. It actually benefited me in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Morally just is the biggest word that comes to mind is morally. So one of the biggest things that I've noticed over the years of being in different co-ops and seeing different families at homeschool is one of the biggest mistakes parents tend to make is over sheltering and over protecting their children. At some point as a parent, you have to realize when it's time to kind of let your kid go, leave the nest, so to say. And for me personally, I'm very grateful that my parents did let me do that. They saw that at the right age, at the right time, it was time for me to make my own mistakes, learn, on my own. You do this, you don't do that. You go here, you don't go there. Don't get me wrong, I've made a lot of stupid mistakes over the years, but it helped me grow to the man I am today. I have learned a lot by doing all those things, and seeing the things that I've seen. I mean, even some of the jobs I've had, I've learned a lot from them as well. Um, so yeah, but I've noticed that when you do overly protect a child and you restrain them to the point where you're just suffocating them 24/7, it actually affects them in ways that you don't even realize. And I know some of those kids personally.
Okay.
And I hear stories of just some of the things that would kind of just make most people go, "Wait, what? Like that doesn't make sense. Why would they do that to you? Or why would they not let you do that? Like you're this age, you should be allowed to do that. And I'm not even talking about like drinking or you're 21, you're not drinking or you're not smoking. I mean, like not even things of that nature. Just very basic, normal things like you can't see a movie, and it's just like, dude, like you're 19 and you can't see that movie. Like the movie's friggin' PG, bro. Like what are you talking about? Like doesn't even make sense.
Well, it's a different story, and I agree with you. If I don't want to see that movie for a reason that I may have,
Yes.
but to feel so imprisoned
Mhm.
that you cannot make your own decision at whatever age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely overboard.
That also it shows insecurity in the parents.
Absolutely.
Are you so not confident in what you've taught your children that they wouldn't be able to make their own decisions of what's right and wrong?
Mm.
I mean, my parents I know have taught me right and wrong. I got disciplined a lot as a kid when I did wrong, and I'm very grateful for all of that. But it was even in that my parents knew, like, hey, we taught him the right things. It's time for him to make his own decisions now, to go out and experience the world, and to do what he must do to grow as a man.
Absolutely. Obviously, we're talking outside of other families. When your parents
Mhm.
released a little bit of the grip, because let's face it, parents will never release fully.
Yeah.
And you made your mistakes, because you mentioned about making mistakes.
Mhm.
When the mistake was too much for you,
Mhm.
did they shun you? Or what was your parent? Because I know your parents and I know this answer.
Yes.
So, but yeah, what were your parents' reaction to mistakes you couldn't get yourself out of?
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking of a handful of things. Um, it was loving.
Okay.
Overall, loving is the best word I can describe for it. It wasn't shunning to where it's like, oh my God, you're a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the house. You're excommunicated. No,
Okay.
it was okay, Mike. You messed up.
Mm-hmm.
We still love you, but you messed up. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
And it was like I don't want to say it was just a slap at the wrist, but at the age I was at, I'm
What else
a
could they
man
do?
now.
Yeah.
Like I can learn from my mistakes now. It's okay. But it's nice to have, of course, the comfort of knowing I always have my parents. I always have home.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I know my parents will always be there for me. So,
And I ask that because, especially in the Latin culture, and my lady over there will definitely attest to this, we're known for when a child does something and they're a certain age, we just kick them out.
Mm.
This has nothing to do with either public school or
Yeah.
homeschooling. This
Yeah.
is just facts. And what happens is they shun them. And I've always found that, being one that was shunned out of my home, that it didn't help me. And I've always wondered, when you have a parent who actually isn't letting you go with it or letting you get away with it, but just the loving aspect. Did you feel that helped you so much more than if they did kick you out of the house?
yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. Especially because even if that ever does happen, it creates a bitterness.
Okay.
And especially in children, you get spiteful. And like, you know what? I'm going to do this now 10 times more because you tell me I can't.
See, for me, it worked. I mean, I had no one else to turn to.
Mm.
And I've always wondered, like, if my father was different, would I have reacted differently if he let me get away with it? I don't know, not let me get away with it, but obviously if he would have approached it differently, smack me in the back of the head, talk about some, we'll deal with this tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So different point of view that it always interests me how that would work.
Mm.
So I do want to take a minute and say, Miss G, besides your turkey, meatloaf, phenomenal young man, Mr. G, you did a great job. I've already told you, you give me hope, okay, that my kids will be normal and that my boys will turn into men regardless of homeschooling. How do you feel that through the years of homeschool, the time you spent with your parents, obviously you guys are close, I know you guys personally, how do you feel it's prepared you for not the step that you're in now, but the next steps that you will be taking for your future?
That's interesting. Well, I know for the aspect of raising a family,
Okay.
because it's pretty much the next step in my life.
Yeah.
Because I kind of have a job where I'm looking at a career, good opportunities with that job, and that's actually another thing is work ethic. You know, I was around my dad, and my dad is a very hard worker, and I was always grateful for that, and the hard work that he has put to support me and my mother.
Well, that definitely rubbed off on you.
Yeah,
Definitely rubbed off on you.
So just even in that too, and that's another perk of homeschooling is you get to teach again your kids just the right values. So working hard was always one thing I've always seen in the home, and that latched onto me. But even just raising a family and just being in that constant loving family environment has taught me so much. And even in the right and wrongs, because no home is perfect. You know, I see what to do, what not to do, how to do it, how to handle certain situations properly. And that has definitely, I feel, prepared me in terms of finding a woman, marrying the woman, and raising a family and kids.
And on that note, will you be homeschooling?
I would like to.
Okay.
I definitely would like to.
Why do you say, like, it's not a possibility?
Well, I gotta see the woman first. That's a conversation that has to have had.
All right, so if you want to homeschool,
Yeah.
make sure you pick a woman.
Yes, I know.
You want homeschooling your children.
But, do you know how tough that is to find, bro? Like, do
Yes.
you know how tough it is? And also, the messed up thing about America today and the society that we're in today is they force both the mother and father to work.
Yes.
If you want to live comfortably in today's day and age, to have a house, to have just the bare essentials of this world that we're in, you have to make a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Now, that's not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, certain people are blessed enough where the wife can stay at home and support the kids, or even reversed. Yo, I'm down to find a woman who makes 6 figures and marry her. Yo, I don't care. I'll do that in a heartbeat. I'll see it. I'll be the best stay-at-home dad you ever seen, bro. But
That's a fact.
yo, yes, dude, like for real. So I don't care what role you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact of just supporting the family comfortably enough. You know, there's a lot that has to be worked into that and a lot of details. So again, I would like to. I don't know what my future holds, and I don't know what God has for me either.
We'll keep that in prayer.
We will definitely keep that in prayer. That's definitely something that needs to be kept in prayer.
Definitely like to see little Galassos being homeschooled. That would be interesting.
Yes, that would be an interesting time.
Oh, man. So, at this point, the only question I would have, and I guess we can kind of wrap this all up.
Okay.
And then if you have any questions over there. Do you have any questions?
My clarification is that Mike was referring to parents letting go, but I don't think he mentioned around how old he was when they started to let him go. Was he 12, 13? How old
That's
was he?
right. So to answer your question, Miss Natalia, the age that I definitely recall when my parents started to loosen the grip just a little bit, I was about anywhere between 17 to 19. You know, I started working, I started driving, which is a huge responsibility. I was volunteering at a hospital at the time too. So I was meeting new people. I was making a lot of good friends. I was going to the gym with certain people, just people I've just met just through my life. And another big thing too, because it's just weird. Yes, that was the age, to answer your question as a whole, is at around 18, 19, they really started letting go. But the reason why they started letting go at that age is because solely for the fact of they trusted me to do so. So the kids have a role to play as well. It's not all on the parents. I would say 90% is, But there is a 10% role that the children have to play in that of you need to show your parents that you can be an adult, that you can make the right decisions. If you act a fool and you act like a child, they're going to treat you like a child.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else to it. So in being open with my parents, because I am more open with my parents than most people are, you build a trust between them. And in that trust, they can say, hey, he's fine. Go do your thing. It's okay.
You have any other questions? You're good? All right. So my last question was going to be this. Grew up pretty much in a Christian home.
Yep.
Homeschooled,
yep.
Christian curriculum, as well as other things out. At what point did you feel that your Christianity was yours and not your parents?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Are we talking like age? Or are we talking just like realization?
Like a point of, so I'll put it to you like this. You talked about how your mom, kindergarten, chose to use you as a vessel to smash other kids' imaginary friends. And at that point, Santa Claus, to you, was not real. Because mom said so. Well, mom also said, God is real. Jesus is real. The Bible is real. Your curriculum said it. Those were all those outside influences telling you it is real. But at what point did Mike say, no, God is real to me? I hate the word feel, so I'm going to say believe and have faith in Christianity, in what Christianity means on your own, as opposed to the influence of others?
Well, there's like two answers to that question.
Rock on.
So I finally realized how I took my Christianity and my walk seriously or not.
Okay.
Was at a young age.
Nice.
But did I choose to walk? That was the thing. Recently, past year and a half, a little more than a year and a half, I actually started getting serious with my walk. And I thank God every day for that. But I knew at a young age who God was.
Okay.
And that just because my parents went to church, my whole family went to church, I had Bible verses shoved down my throat for years on end. Going to church every Sunday, like religiously for years, meant nothing if I didn't believe and I didn't take the steps needed to strengthening my faith and strengthening my walk.
Nice. Well, I thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This has been fun and great.
As it has.
God bless you guys out there.
Peace.
Thank you for dropping by. Please remember to subscribe, to share, like, and to catch the next one.